So I will be presenting my research paper, Creative Catharsis, the Positive Outcomes of Lockdown in Nicaragua. Since the beginning of time, humans have been intrigued by the relation between emotions, body, and soul. From Greek philosophers such as Aristotle, who dedicated part of his life to study emotions to try to understand the complexity of human behavior, to ancient civilizations like the Aztec Empire, who believed that the concept of living a good life meant having the ability to reach 4 different levels. According to the Florentine Codex, the second level was being able to connect with one's mind and emotions. In any case, what both philosophies of life have in common is the acknowledgement of the critical role emotions have in our lives. The expansion of the Aztec Empire was so ambitious that some historians believe it covered parts of Honduras, El Salvador, and Nicaragua. Nicaragua is a Central American country located at the heart of the region, mostly known for its revolutions and civil war. Nicaragua has gone through a dictatorship in the 40s that led to a revolution in the 70s, to a civil war in the 80s, and yet again another dictatorship that caused the latest uprising in 2018. It seems destiny has put the country's resilience to the test, and I believe our history has forced Nicaraguans to become resilient one way or another. And as the saying goes, a country that does not know its history is condemned to repeat it. So what is resilience? Resilience, according to the English dictionary, is the concept of the power of the ability to return to the original form or position after being bent, compressed, or stretched. And it also means the capacity to recover quickly from difficulties. But it fails to mention the tools necessary to achieve that ability. I propose that to become resilient, one must be willing to go through a process of introspection to allow one's emotions to manifest in order to heal the soul, the mind, and therefore the body. In the chapter Understanding Resilience from Airmen and Family Resilience, the author explains that the concept of resilience covers 3 aspects. First, thinking of resilience as an ability, and an intellectual ability that requires courage and willpower. Second, looking at resilience as growth, because a person who endures hardship simply does not remain the same. And last, understanding that resilience has changing demands, suggesting that resilience is a process that occurs over time. In April 2018, Nicaragua experienced another uprising. This last action triggered simultaneous protests all over the country, which caused more anger, violence, and chaos. A month later, it resulted in more than 300 deceased, thousands injured, and hundreds of disappearances. The amount of violence and brutal repression used by the government handled the protests only ignited more radical demands, calling for early elections. The past events make me question if resilience is an ability that Nicaraguans have inherited from our ancestors, or is it an ability that can be achieved by everyone who decides to go through the process. Catharsis. The term catharsis originates from the Greek katharsis, which means the process of releasing and thereby providing relief from strong or repressed emotions, and from the word catharine, that in medical terms means purgation or cleansing. As painful as it sounds, going back to old memories or past traumas might be the only way to break free from hurtful emotions that limit our activities in our daily life. For example, experiencing the loss of a family member, a friend, or a co-worker has a tremendous impact on the way we behave and manage our emotions. According to a useful life cycle, children are supposed to bury their parents, not the opposite. In Nicaragua, hundreds of parents had to mourn the loss of their children, who based on their age were not supposed to die before them. One of the youngest children that died during the uprising was Alvaro Conrado, a 15-year-old high school student who participated in the protest by giving water bottles to the demonstrators. So one death quickly became more than 300, and the pain of a family became the grief of the whole country. As I mentioned, Nicaragua has gone through a revolution before, and like other revolutions in Latin America, artists play an important role in expressing the common feelings of the nation and supporting the people to find comfort and strength in their art. So most Nicaraguan artists have used art as their entrenchment to fight their battles and to purge their feelings. I suggest calling it creative catharsis because it functions as a beautiful method to cleanse and purify the body in an artistic way. So one of the positive outcomes I would like to present today is 33K Gallery, which is a digital gallery. First, the social-political crisis that burst in Nicaragua in 2018 had a negative impact on every sector of the society, affecting the local economy, which before 2018 was actually growing. But the economic projections were positive due to the booming of different industries such as construction, agriculture, and foreign investments. After the impact of the social crisis, no one thought that the future events would deteriorate the economy even more. According to Nicaraguan economist Nestor Avendaño, the country has already accumulated 8 years of economic decline without even taking into consideration the recession of the COVID-19 pandemic. So despite the discouraging future scenario, not everything is negative, and like the saying goes, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. And having that attitude is part of being resilient, having the ability to keep going forward despite the circumstances. So this research will focus on the positive outcomes that came with two major crises that impacted Nicaragua, and then the sanitary crisis of COVID-19 pandemic. 33K Gallery was conceived in 2018, but it was not until 2020 with the coronavirus pandemic that the project emerged. 33K Gallery is an alternative art gallery that looks to foster art and provide visibility to local artists. It aims to take visual arts outside the typical cultural spaces, such as physical galleries and museums. And it is important to mention that most of the local artists do not have the resources to cover the expenses of exhibiting their work in these type of venues. That was one of the reasons that motivated the founders of the gallery to create this digital initiative. On July 23rd, 2020, the digital gallery has its opening with the first online exhibition called Confinados, which translates as confined, which showcases the work of 5 artists in times of a pandemic. The first virtual room is for young artists. It exposes the work of Denise Sevilla, Ricardo Morales, Oscar Rivas, Oscar Acuña, and Will Carmona. So the first artist presents his work. It's called Insectos y Morphosis, Insects and Morph. The second room showcases the work of Ricardo Morales, Trapped. The third work is Oscar Rivas with Synapses. And Oscar Acuña, the first one is Trapped, which is this one. And then Will Carmona with Nidos, which means nest. As I mentioned, that in Nicaragua, it feels like it has been 2 years lockdown because of the social unrest in 2018 and now in 2020 with the virus pandemic. These difficult events forced artists to create a new process of artistic production, not only in the visual arts, but in different artistic expressions. Second is Becas Creativas, which translates as creative scholarships. Managua Furiosa is an independent digital gallery outlet that specializes in artistic expression and human rights. It was founded in 2014 by artist and culture manager Roberto Guillen under the necessity of having an inclusive space to talk about different topics such as human rights, gender equality, violence, and other issues in Nicaragua. This year, with the COVID-19 pandemic, Managua Furiosa, or Furious Managua, launched the art initiative called Becas Creativas, Creative Scholarships, in cooperation with the Musical Studies Center. Our focus on providing musicians the necessary technical artists and technological tools to selected artists. It provides them the opportunity to perform their own compositions, to learn more about music, harmony, and lyrics. Some of the talented artists that were successfully granted the scholarships are Andrés Omarriba, Cecia Violet, and Tania Molina. For Andrés Omarriba, the creative process should never stop, especially in times of a pandemic, where emotional health is at stake. The lucky artist will recall 3 new original songs, one of them being inspired by the loss of a friend due to COVID-19. He believes that even though the pandemic has been a difficult time for most people, to artists it's an opportunity, an invitation to conceive more music. The second, this is part of the ads. The second initiative is called Tu Rincón Musical, Your Musical Corner, that works in conjunction with Managua Furiosa to support another project like music, poetry, theater, visual arts, and technology. One of its missions is to support other arts initiatives. So they work in collaboration with Saxo Producciones, Saxo Productions, and Chameleon Productions, with the financial support of Spain Cultural Centers. These online concerts are conceived out of the necessity of having a virtual space for social interaction while following the World Health Organization health recommendations. As social beings, we feel the need to connect with others, to interact, to share with family and friends. Socializing is a way of dealing with emotions. Therefore, being forced to stay home and change our daily routine can cause a negative impact on our feelings. Music artists approach this issue by performing online concerts from their homes and streaming them through different social media platforms, such as Facebook Live and Instagram Live. Some of the artists that have participated in the online concerts are Mario Reeves from Nicaragua, Sexual Wow from Costa Rica. It is important to mention that the last artist from Costa Rica has was forced to migrate due to the social political crisis. So these cultural events helps them reconnect with their homeland and to strengthen ties in the Central American region. The essential intention behind Tu Rincón Musical, or your musical corner, is to give artists the opportunity to continue creating art and to convey to the audience a message of resilience, to connect and to resist together through art in this new normality. In conclusion, emotions play a critical role in human behavior. Good and bad experiences leave a mark and become part of our identity. It is important to acknowledge the way we feel in order to have a better understanding of our actions and reactions. I propose that having the ability of being resilient is a difficult but necessary process that can only be achieved by experiencing a catharsis. There are two types of catharsis, emotional and medical. In this case will be an emotional catharsis, the type of catharsis that reaches our deepest memories and traumas. In my opinion, the process of catharsis can also become a process of creativity. I propose to call it creative emotional catharsis. I suggest that several art projects have arisen in Nicaragua during times of a pandemic are a result of an important healing procedure, which in turn will aid Nicaraguans to become resilient and to continue resisting the adversities that the future may bring. As a Nicaraguan living overseas, I feel it is my obligation to share our history and past experiences to encourage others to surrender to our emotions and to let our body heal our mind and our soul. The best part of connecting to our feelings is recognizing that we are all in the same boat, fighting the same battles day by day. To be empathetic is a step towards change and to growth. And I would like to conclude with the words of Nicaraguan artist Andrés Umarriba that I highly agree with. Open quote, "Ni las guerras ni las pandemias detienen el arte. Neither war nor pandemics can stop art." Close quote. And I would like to finish with also this picture that I think it represents really good the image of being resilience.